Good morning, everyone. Good evening, good afternoon, wherever you are, and welcome to the weekly Energy Boost. My name is Elisheva, and I am here this beautiful Sunday morning with Batya Solomon. Batya, you might want to move the mic closer to you. Batya is a long time, probably one of the people I know longest in my journey with the Kabbalah Center. She is a colleague and a friend and an inspiration, and I have been trying to get her on the show for 2 years, I think. So I'm very excited to have her, and we're going to get her to talk about her work and how she inspires others to be more like the light. Before we go there, I want to let you know that the Weekly Energy Boost is a show we do every week. We provide in these 50 minutes a spiritual energy forecast for the coming week. And in doing so, provide tools, prescriptions, advice, and guidance from the ancient wisdom of Kabbalah. So it's not only recommendations for the coming week, it's wisdom and application that you can use any day of the year, any time in your life. This past week, we had an amazing show with another out-of-town teacher, Marcus Weston, and one of the things that we talked about in that show, which I think we need to carry into today, is that these first 10 days of the month of Libra is the time that the Kabbalists tell us we can rewrite the script of our life for the coming year. The whole month of Libra is about balancing our energy and creating the life we want. And here we are in the second week of the procedure. And this week is very much giving us the support, giving us the inspiration, and also going to give us the tests, the opportunities to, in Kabbalah, we might call it sacrifice, but I think on the street, we call it letting go. We call it, well, I don't know, Batya, you chime in. What do you think is unique about this week? You don't want to, the don't miss opportunity that this week brings us.
Wow, there's so much going on in this week. This is according to Kabbalah, the world is, we live in a 10-dimensional universe, and everything that we create, from making our breakfast to a decision that affects the whole world, happens in 10 stages. And the first 10 days of the month of Libra are representative of the 10 stages of creation that we're going to be creating for our whole life in the coming year. We are literally and figuratively and spiritually and emotionally and financially creating our destiny for the whole year. So it's an important time, very important time. It's a time to be thinking about what are my priorities in life? Where do I have integrity in my life? Where do I want to have more integrity in my life? Where do I want to have more love in my life, more abundance? It's also a time, not also, but like a total assessment of the soul.
Right. We talked last week about that. We called it an audit.
Yeah. An audit, exactly.
And so that audit continues through this week. I think it's Thursday night is when the audit, I'll check my calendar, but I'm pretty sure it ends this Thursday night. And it becomes even more amplified on Thursday. Wednesday night to Thursday night is what the Kabbalist teaches the most powerful day of the year. And so
I think it's Tuesday night.
Is it Tuesday night?
Yeah, I'm
checking
sure it's
now.
Tuesday night. Just saying.
Just saying. You are right. It's Tuesday night through Wednesday night. That's why we're a team here and we're not on our own. Yes, it's Tuesday night to Wednesday night this week is what we call, again, a lot of people may recognize the words Yom Kippur as the name of that day, but the Kabbalists again teach that this is the day on which there was the greatest revelation of the light force of the Creator in our world. It's funny because growing up, I heard that this was the day of atonement. Kabbalah teaches it's the day of at-one-ment, which it's the same letters. Our teacher, Rav Berg, would say it's really the day that we can be at one with the light force of the Creator. And that's why many times there are connections. The spiritual prescription for that day is, ironically, but not so, sacrifice, not eating, not drinking, not being busy with the body, and really being immersed in prayer and meditation. But that means that this whole week is giving us that opportunity to do just that.
First, for those people who are listening and you heard the word Yom Kippur, please check back in, because, in my experience, if somebody is not Jewish and they hear Yom Kippur, they go, oh, it's not for me. And for those people who are Jewish, for sure it's not for me. So to come back into the conversation, I have a personal passion to take the religiosity out of spirituality, and so don't cheat yourself because you heard those words and you checked out, because what is, as I'm sure you've mentioned on the show before, Kabbalah, the laws of life. Life is a system, and we have the cheat codes here, and we just have the merit or the advantage of how do I live my best life with the least amount of suffering and the most amount of pleasure. And so people associate that day of judgment as a very negative thing, taking out all, my guilt, I'm sorry, mea culpa, all of this kind of stuff. Guilt and shame is the stuff that rules people and keeps them very limited. The truth is, in our paradigm of Kabbalah, it's the total opposite. It's a day of complete freedom. What are we free of? We're free of the world of the five senses, materiality. What do people think about me? What about the bills? What about the mortgage? When are we going to get married? When are we going to get pregnant? When are they going to move out already? Etc. And here it's like, no, it's like being in outer space in a way that you look down on the earth and say it's beautiful. That's how Yom Kippur is our opportunity to really reach a whole nother level. There's 5 things they say we sacrifice, we don't do. But those 5 restrictions are actually, every one of them gives us a sense of greater freedom over the body consciousness, freedom over our insecurities, freedom over lack thinking. And so life is what you make out of it, right? So Yom Kippur is a fantastic day to really say, hey, I am an immortal being having a human experience, and I don't have to let this human experience rule over me. I am the ruler of my domain. Unfortunately, so many people miss that opportunity because they're so busy with the religiosity or reacting to the religiosity, they miss out on the opportunity.
Oh, can I interrupt you and ask you to
Please.
share a little bit with everybody about the work that you do and what gets you excited to get up every morning and do that work?
For me, life is about abundance, and I'm a prosperity coach. I am here to serve people. I want people to claim their abundance in all aspects of their life. It's not just about money, because a person can have a lot of money and be miserable. It can also be broke and be miserable. So, on the other hand, what makes for a rich life? And Kabbalah has so much to offer us about how to have that best life, having your best life right now. Wherever you are, you can shift your paradigm from going from lack thinking to prosperity thinking, from notice what's missing in your life to having it all and feeling so blessed to be here. So that's my personal passion, and I love empowering people to claim what is their birthright, which is to be the master of their domain.
So you do that with meeting students one-on-one, the personal coaching. You also teach classes, right?
Yes, I teach prosperity principles
on Kabbalah.com.
Kabbalah.com, yes.
And you have...
It's well hidden, by the way, so if you're looking for it, you have to earn that class because it's not out there in the open. Like everything, we learn.
You have to work for it.
You have to work for it. That's one of the spiritual laws, by the way. If something is worth having, you must work for it. If it's free and it comes easily, there's no energy in it.
You also have a column on Kabbalah.com, right?
Yes, you can go on Kabbalah.com and look at columns, and if you go if you open all the columns and you look through the bottom, once again, well hidden like a diamond in the rock, in the garbage, you might say. Oh no, not garbage, but well hidden.
It's at the bottom, so it's easiest for us to reach.
Yes, it's called the central column, where I write about spirituality in real life. So I think my gift is simplifying this wisdom for people. My gift is also being transparent about what it means to be a spiritual teacher. I want to vomit when I see people coming there where they're so pure and they're so, they never
holier
make it.
than thou.
They're holier than thou. They never make a mistake. Come on. That's not life.
Well, our listeners know I make plenty of mistakes,
Yes,
so
you know.
that's where the light is.
By the way, you know what I love? I know I'm going to say another word that's probably going to trigger people called the Bible, but I just want to say, if anybody actually took the time to read the stories, the holy people of the Bible were like into some really wild stuff. There's a lot of wild and crazy things going on there. And the reason why people say, oh, you know, it's irrelevant today, it's a contradiction, it's all these, it's because all of it is a timeless code. Once again, giving us everything we need to have an abundant life. But like everything else, you have to go past the literal understanding of it to get to the meat of it, to get to the timeless wisdom of it, the constant support. And that's what turns me on and makes me happy. And I feel so blessed to have a life where I actually get to do this every day. And it's amazing.
It is amazing.
And by the way, I love you very much. I just want to make my love for you public. The whole world should know. Elisheva and I, great friends for many, many years. We didn't start off that way, right? But we worked that out with and
the Creator helped us work it out.
Yes, and now we're the best of friends.
And the truth is, I think aside from my family, I spend more hours of my week working with Batya than anyone else on the planet.
Right. And I look forward to it all the time.
We miss our time together when we don't have it.
Yes.
And that's
what's the female version of a bromance, by the way?
I said you're my work wife.
Ah, okay, that works.
Galmance?
Okay.
I don't know. I think you can be my work wife.
Womance. We have a woman's.
Womance?
A woman's.
There you go. You heard it here first. So the truth is that womance is one of the reasons, obviously, I wanted to bring Batya here. When we work together, we always say, you know, too bad nobody else is listening to us, because we do come up with great ideas and we're funny and we enjoy. Obviously, if you enjoy what you do, that's going to show in the work that you do.
That's right.
And we were charged with the assignment to create a more hands-on and down-to-earth curriculum for a lot of the courses that we teach at the Kabbalah Center. And one theme that constantly comes up in those courses is this idea of letting go or sacrifice.
Yes.
And, you know, again, that word sacrifice, it does bring up, like Batya said, religious connotations. There are biblical sacrifices. There are, you know, ancient Aztec and Incan and Mayan sacrifice, right? There's a lot of unfortunately corrupted perspectives when you hear that word. The idea, the energy this week, but I think even the bigger lesson for all of us is, I'm thinking about it. A couple weeks ago, we had a show and someone asked the question, and by the way, this question comes up probably on every third show, I would say. How do you know when you're supposed to keep pushing, and how do you know when you need to let go? And the answer we gave a few weeks ago, and maybe that's a good way to open up the bigger discussion, is it's the same thing. Pushing and letting go are exactly the same thing, because I think that people think, well, you know, if I'm going to let go of something or I'm sacrificing something, I'm giving it up.
Right.
And Kabbalah teaches that, and at the core of any of Kabbalah's teachings around prosperity and abundance is the word desire, right? I know that many of you are listening for the first time, but if you have been listening, you know that one of the essential aspects to living and being alive and living a lively life is desire, is wanting it all. Our teacher, Rav Berg, would say, I'm the most selfish person. I want all the light in the world, everything that I can get. Now, you may have a voice in the back of your head that says, well, that sounds selfish. That voice in your head that says that sounds selfish, that's what we call the voice of the opponent, the adversary. That's not the voice of my soul. My soul knows that I can have it all.
Right.
I can create it all. I can be the cause and the initiator of all of the things that I want in my life. I've just got to constantly push back on that voice inside me that tells me otherwise.
The illusion, the great cosmic joke is that we think we're lacking something. We're actually lacking nothing. So how does that work? We are, as I said before, immortal energy beings who are visiting this planet, and we're walking around with virtual reality suits called our bodies, and they come with certain accessories. One is always an opinion. The other one is a voice that comes with the suit that is not who we are. It's not our true voice, and it's there to challenge us to be our best, and it keeps telling us how unworthy we are and how no one's going to love us, and how am I going to pay the rent this month, and look, here's a demonstration of lack, and there's a demonstration of lack, and no one's ever going to love me. I'm going to throw myself under the bus and marry that person I don't love because I don't think I can do any better. And all of those challenges, right? So they're constantly convincing us, that voice, that opponent force that comes with the body, the virtual reality suit consciousness. And here's the game of life. Overcome that voice. And listen, turn up the volume of our true voice of our soul. Now, what's the sacrifice, right? So the opponent voice gives us the illusion that we begin in a state of lack, and we're afraid of losing whatever we have to more lack. But the truth is that we have everything. We came into this world with everything. We're missing nothing. The restriction or the sacrifice is saying no to the illusion. Say no to the illusion. To completely switch it opposite. And you will see your life will change like that. If you can maintain a consciousness of saying to yourself, wait a second, who said I could either have time or money? Who said I could have this or that? Who put me in a corner and these are my only two options? Wait a minute, I have infinite options. There are infinite possibilities, as Kabbalah teaches us. And we are meant to be the creators of our life. We are the creators of our life. But we got to understand, first of all, that we're like little kids driving cars. We don't realize, I don't understand why I keep crashing into the wall. Well, why don't you try putting your hand on the steering wheel for a while, for a change, and then, focus with purpose, focus your mind, and first ask yourself, where do I want to go? What do I want to manifest? What's the life I want to have? Now, Kabbalah gives us these tools to help us manifest what we want and get there faster and better without as many bruises as we would if we did it our
trial and error
and error basis. Exactly.
Well, I think for a lot of people who are listening, we're giving them a great introduction to what Kabbalah says around the human condition and how sometimes flawed our perspective is, right? I can't help it. I was born into this country, or I was born into this religion, or I was, I'm the middle child. We have all these different labels or excuses that we.
Pisces.
For the record, Batya is not a Pisces, but don't tell anybody what you are.
Okay, I won't.
You can write in the comments what you think she is, and we'll do the big reveal at the end of the show.
Exactly.
So stay tuned.
What do you think my sign is?
Stay tuned to what astrological sign Batya Solomon is. The fact of the matter is that we have this, like Batya said, virtual reality suit, and that virtual reality suit is going to be perfectly tailored to our soul's growth plan.
Right.
And
we call it the SIED.
SIED?
Yes, in school, because Elisheva and I don't know if you know that we both have backgrounds in education. I have a master's in education. We taught in the same school, as a matter of fact. We worked together there. So in the educational system, there's something called an individual education plan.
IEP.
Right? Oh, I'm sorry. Did I say D? IED,
Yeah,
sorry. Wrong
IEP.
Subject for another time.
Yes. there may be kids listening.
Okay. So it's the soul's individual education plan. So everybody's got one.
Right.
You've got one.
And that is really the driving force driving force for the opportunities that we come across in our life. So being born the middle child was the best way for us to express our divine purpose, or being born into a certain economical status, or being born into
certain challenges.
So I was going to say, if you feel, I had a conversation with someone yesterday whose child is having, different trouble hitting certain developmental milestones, and in exploring that, the possibilities, the options that are there for him, she's realizing that her husband has the same issues and they were never addressed when he was older, and how excited she is to help both her son and her husband transform those opportunities and grow from them together, which I thought was a beautiful way to look at it. But being, immersed in Kabbalah, she's looking at it that way. It's very easy to feel victimized, alone, helpless when you get a diagnosis or one of those labels are handed to you.
And sacrifice, and according to Kabbalah, is the same word. You can't tell from any other language but Hebrew. Again, not about religion, not about a group of people, but about the nanorobots of creation. That's what those shapes and sounds have, a certain vibrational energy. It's the same meaning, the root word of coming closer. Sacrifice and coming closer. It doesn't seem to make any sense, and you look at it literally. But according to Kabbalah, to sacrifice means we come closer to our creator nature. So what are we sacrificing? Once again, we're sacrificing the illusion of losing something. But if you can only be rich and you let go of something, but there's so much more where that came from, do you feel the pain or the resistance of that? No. You only feel the pain and the resistance of it when your mentality is living in the world according to what you see with your five senses, experience with your five senses. Right. So this whole idea of sacrifice, I want to tell you a true story about this. By the way, I wrote a story in my column. It's called The Best Investment. My daughter was coming with me to an event, and on the way to the event, she decided, she was home from college, she was on vacation, on a break, and on the way to the event, she let me know she really didn't want to come with me to the event. And I said, okay, got it. And she said, well, I just told you I don't really want to be here. I'm doing this for you. I said, yeah, I got it. Thank you. I appreciate that. So you don't understand. Why would you want me to go to this event if I'm doing this for you and I'm not happy? I said, that's okay. That's fine with me. And she said...
now you also get to guess what sign Batya's daughter is by the end of the show.
I'll give you a hint. She's my mini-me. Anyway, so she said, well, why would that be okay with you, knowing I'm suffering, that I'm coming to this event with you? And I said, listen, honey, do you think, and I love you more than life, do you think that in your 19 years of existence, that every moment I spent with you, I wanted to get up in the middle of the night and change your diaper and hold you when you had an ear infection and miss this and when I was exhausted and I wanted to go to sleep, or when I was really hungry and you wanted to feed, nurse, and then I had to nurse you first while I'm starving, and thousands and millions of other things that I can't remember that I did, and that's called sacrifice. You know what? And for you, one day, I'm sure you're going to be an amazing parent. One day, you're going to be in the same position where you're going to have to give up your personal desires in that moment because you're invested in the relationship with your children the way I'm investing in my relationship with you. So I'm okay with you suffering right now and coming to this. By the way, please don't feel sorry for her. She has a blessed life, as we say. First world problems, we like to say.
But Batya, I think that there's a deeper...
wait, I want to finish the story. Okay, so that's that story. Here's another one, very funny. So we went on a family vacation a few years ago. We were on a cruise, and there were like 2,000 or more people on the cruise. We're in a dining room, and you can imagine this, if you've ever been on one of those big cruises, there's like families all over every table. And so I'm sitting there. We're sitting together with our family. We have 4 children, 4 amazing human beings that we're blessed to have the merit to be guides for in this world. And after the meal, my family, talk about witty banter. We just love our witty banter. We just love being together, which is also an anomaly, I understand, in today's life. But besides that, so we have our meal together, and then like any cruise, everybody went their own way. So my husband went one way, 2 of my kids went to something, my other 2 kids went to something. I sat at the table, let me just have 5 minutes sitting there with my coffee, with my dessert, whatever. And the waiter comes over to me. This is like the 3rd day of the cruise. And he comes over to me and he says, I have to tell you that your family is an inspiration to me. I'm looking at it. My family's an inspiration. What are you talking about? He said, I've been working on these cruise ships for years. He said, but the love that you have with your family, he says, I want to have a family like yours. And I said, let me tell you something. We worked on this thing. This is not something that just showed up today. This is 25 years of sacrifice of those moment-to-moment sacrifices, because we're invested in the bigger picture. And that's really like one of the gifts of life, is to have something that you love so much, that is so important to you, whether it's creating something that somehow benefits humanity, whether it's having a family, your marriage, your business for
Well,
the
one
greater
second,
good.
one second. How can your family, your marriage, or your business benefit the world? Let's go back to
It's all about
basic building
intention.
blocks. Okay,
It's always starts with intention. What the heck am I doing on this planet? I would ask you in the comment section, if you even think about it, to ask that question, dare to answer it. What the heck? Well, we're on the radio, so I'll say, what the heck am I doing on this planet? Really, what am I doing here? How much shopping can you do? And believe me, I love retail therapy. But how much shopping can you do? How many movies can you watch? How many pairs of shoes can you wear at one time? There's got to be a greater meaning to life. There's got to be a greater purpose to life. And a person who's truly blessed is a person who knows their purpose and is in alignment with their purpose. And that's why Kabbalah turns me on so much, because it's really helped me not only find my purpose, but the greatest fulfillment is to be able to help other people, to be of service to other people, whether it's your family, whether it's in your marriage, whether it's in your business. It's got that element of service that helps another human being in any shape, way, or form. You're on the right path. And if not, that means that a person's coming from fear and lack, and that's cumulatively the effect of that is look what's happening in the world today. Poisoning our planet. People don't trust each other. The cynicism, the divorce rate through the roof, etc. We have more resources. We have more modern technology. We have more of everything that we can possibly imagine than any other generation in history. And we have more depression and more teen suicides and more isolation. How is that possible? Because we have more power. And power corrupts, and absolute power corrupts. Absolutely. However, if you take the same power and you just shift slightly in the intention from going, what can I get out of it, to what can I share? Who can benefit from it? How can I be of service? Then you're doing life the way it's meant to be done.
Well, we were talking about it in the car, that you don't have to be a Kabbalah teacher to live a meaningful, purposeful life.
Absolutely not.
It's about living a life as an example.
And by the way you said before, why me? Why? I did not have a great childhood, just saying, and I won't bore you with all the
You can read her
details.
article to find out more about that,
Yes,
her column.
That's in my column as well, because I really believe that how can I be a spiritual teacher if I, first of all, don't walk my talk, and second of all, don't share my experience. It's not always every day. I'm always, giving out roses at the airport. I have days where I scream at my husband, fight with my kids, I do selfish things. It's a constant struggle. Please, you have to understand the power of a spiritual path is a power of constant battling that voice of the opponent, that paradigm that says I'm not enough, I don't have enough. That's the real spiritual work. Everything else around it is commentary. So we have these days of power that help us get the winning edge. And by the way, it's meant for all humanity.
Right, we talked about that a lot last week.
Yeah. So
the cosmic fabric into which these windows of time were woven existed before there was any religions, any countries, any language.
Of course.
It's part of creation according to Kabbalah.
Yes.
So the fact that there is this energy available this week, that laser doesn't shine on a certain group or a certain country or a certain religion. It's a broadcast throughout the universe.
Exactly. And it's our opportunity as a human being, as citizens of this planet, to ask ourselves, where do I stand in the matter? Am I part of the problem or am I part of the solution? There's nothing else. There's only those two choices, the solution or the problem. So believe it or not, when a bunch of people get together with the same intention, that's how we manifest new creations in a physical form, right? So Yom Kippur, unfortunately, for most of the world, as I said, is dealt with in a religious way, and it's a shame that it has to go there, because it's really a waste when we realize, wait a minute, this day is the day where I get to be aware, or to consciously forge a greater alignment with the creator of the universe, which is part of me. The creation of the universe is within me. It's within you. And it's up to you and it's up to me to activate it or not activate it. But it's always there. And there are certain windows of time where we have that opportunity that the universe is supporting us to do that spiritual work and wake up and say, hey, I'm going to be a force for change. I'm going to be a force for good. I'm going to not allow myself, I'm going to make new choices and decide not to just robotically fall asleep and be reactive to my environment. That's our opportunity.
What I'm seeing here, by the way, from the comments is that we need to bring it down to some more practical, tangible application. I want to go back to what you said about sacrifice and your daughter and you know, having things in your life that are worth sacrificing, that momentary whatever it is. Kabbalah teaches, again, it's funny because it goes back to the desire thing. You know, you want it all. If you want it all, are you willing to give up that momentary pleasure? That's the Kabbalah doesn't say do it to be a good person.
Right.
Do it because you love the other person and you want to be there for them. It's because in letting go of that urge in that moment to feel pleasure, to feel better, to be relaxed, whatever it is, you're opening yourself up to greater long-term lasting fulfillment.
Right. So what does the illusion say? I have an opportunity to share, right? Let go of something. So another story I want to share with you, a true story. Back in the day when we were in the Kabbalah Children's Academy, it's not there anymore, but we had a fair. I don't know if you remember this, 7-year-old girl. So we had booths with children from the school demonstrating different spiritual principles. And there was a student at the Kabbalah Center who, this woman was deciding whether or not she wanted to give a donation to the school. It was a fundraiser, and she went to the booth. And one of the children was demonstrating the principle that when you share, you always have. So she had a candle. So she asked the woman, hold a candle, and she, lit her candle. She said, look at the flame of my candle. See, I lit your candle. Now you have light and I have light, but my light didn't diminish. She didn't say diminish, less than. And you have light. Now together we created more light. So the woman said to her, but wait a minute, well, what if I have a cookie? If I have a cookie and I give you half a cookie, then I only have half a cookie. And the 7-year-old looked at her and said, don't you get it? It's not the cookie. It's the energy in the cookie that you get. And, that just blew this woman away. It's not the cookies of our life. The illusion is I'm going to lose out if I take 5 minutes to pay attention to what my child is saying. If I get down to the level, eye-to-eye level, and really tune into my child for 5 minutes a day and hear my child, I acknowledge your presence. Your spouse, I acknowledge your presence. Taking 5 minutes away from Netflix, so you could put it on pause and do something else, or go out of your way to give charity, do some volunteering. It's really a momentary experience of sacrifice. And then what's the test? Am I conscious or am I not conscious? That's a real test for us. Do I choose to let go of my selfish desire and just embrace the moment or not? It's really that simple, and it really boils down to that. And then when you do it moment by moment and the moments accumulate, then you look back and go, wow, what a great life. What a great life. Because that's what creates new possibilities. It's amazing. It's really amazing. Is it hard as hell? Absolutely. Oh, heck, sorry. Absolutely.
Beep.
It's what's so hard? The illusion is so strong. It's the illusion. Oh, my God. That's so strong. It just seems like, look, brick and mortar, table. It's hard. The wall, it's there. It can't change. No, I'm going to redirect my life around the wall. Who said? Who said you have to do that? Entertain that other possibility. Is that wall can come down. Yes, it can. The walls of our life, the blockages of our life are self-imposed. It's never what they do to you. It's what you do with what they do to you. It's not about the environment. It's about how do I respond to my environment. Am I going to let my environment dictate to me? Then I am the slave of this world. Or do I, my free will, that's the gift of free will, is to rise above it. Now you asked for practical applications. This is why we have people of different religions and different colors and different languages and different signs, and people who just press our buttons, and people we love to judge and criticize. Let's face it, we all love to do that. Or people that we feel less than and intimidated by, right? Why does all of that exist? Because every single person is my opportunity to activate my godlike self. Every person who pushes my buttons, and who are the best people to push our buttons? The people we love the most, and the people who are most like us. Push our buttons, and in that moment, that's my spiritual work. Right there in that moment, you're pushing my buttons, and that's my opportunity to say, no, pause, what a pleasure. I'm sure you've said that on the show before.
Millions of times.
Pause, what a pleasure, right? When the minute you can say pause, what a pleasure, it's like the Matrix. You're Neo, you're in the Matrix and you're Neo. You're not affected by it anymore, So that's what this is really all about. Think about that. Everything you want, you already have. I know that sounds crazy, right?
It's a little bit abstract.
I know. You already want, but you have to remember, as the quantum physicists have already proven, science has already proven, everything we see here are just molecules in motion, even though they appear to feel solid, but they're not. And what dictates that? Our consciousness.
I had a conversation with your husband earlier this week, and
lucky you,
lucky me. He shared
you
with me.
You mean Chaim Solomon, the person who has the spiritual Sunday every Sunday?
We're going to get him in here next week, and we're gonna get to hear all about that as well.
He's an amazing teacher.
He shared with me, and what's funny about. I'm saying he reminded me because I think back when I was in college, I wrote a paper about him. I don't remember if it was in high school or college, but I did like a biography on him, and I did know this. But he was telling me, his life, he was always, I don't want to say bred, but let's say he was being groomed to be a doctor.
That's right.
And that, whether it's from your family, your teachers in school, even television and movies, made it seem like that was the gates were opening and directing him to that field. There was this moment that he couldn't, it's like, be a doctor, be a doctor, be a doctor. Wait a second, there's spirituality. And the spiritual draw, because you brought up the idea, whatever it was 20 minutes ago.
Something changed?
No, I'm saying when you said, it made me think of it when you said, I'm going to marry this guy even though I don't really love him because I'm afraid I'm not going to find anything better. That's, Chaim's version is, all my life I was preparing for this, but that's not really where I want to be anymore. That's not my...
That's a test.
By
the way, that was my mother's advice.
Don't marry a doctor?
No, marry that guy, even if you love him, because you never know when the next one's going to come around. Thank you, Mom, wherever you are. She meant the best. I don't judge her for that.
Well, again,
but we get that advice.
That was
yes.
what she got. Right. She had that.
But that was my opportunity to say no. That was my sacrifice. I broke up with that guy and then married the amazing Chaim Solomon, which wouldn't have happened if I didn't pass that test. Right. And so every test is an opportunity.
The test is not only not listening to your mom, it's that
follow your
rejecting
heart,
that belief
soul.
system that I'm not going to get any better.
That's right.
And so even, thinking about how much money was invested in his education and how much time and effort he put into preparing for that life, being willing, and on the show, David and I call it pivoting. Being willing, moving towards something and knowing at any moment the universe is going to direct you to pivot. Mm-hmm. How do you know when to pivot? There's a whole, you can go back.
Don't worry, you'll know.
Right. But that's an example to me of sacrifice, being willing to let go of other people's expectations of you.
Absolutely.
What is everybody going to think?
Yes, that's the biggest sacrifice, right?
So
what do people think about me?
If you would poll, and I'm sure we can look at the feed and see people, it's what are they going to think? What are they going to say? How are they going to treat me? If I come out and I be this spiritual person, or I stop going out with so-and-so, or I make that career move that's unconventional.
But you want to hear something? You know what I think is the greatest sacrifice? Every single human being is walking around with shame and guilt on some level. The biggest sacrifice is letting go of the illusion that I'm unworthy. If you want to trace back your decisions, right? If you really have the courage to go all the way back, what was the original motivation? Somewhere along the line is, well, I didn't think I deserved that. Or I'm just not worthy of that. Or that never happened to me before, so it could never happen now. Or I never saw anyone in my environment who achieved that success or had a great relationship or had self-esteem. So, I just accept or allow myself to be relegated by these limits. But that truly, if you want to talk about sacrifice, the greatest sacrifice is letting go of the illusion that I'm not enough.
So maybe that's the best group assignment that we can take for ourselves this week. And whether or not you are participating in any kind of Yom Kippur experience, and again, we will put the link here if you want to join us to stream live with the Kabbalah Center, you can do that.
But wait, we didn't talk about the purpose of Yom Kippur. The benefit. Yeah. Okay.
I think that if everyone who's listening could take upon themselves that exploration of where is it that I'm holding on to the feeling of unworthiness, the memory, right? We hold on to
past grudges,
the experience, hurts, or even the words. Somebody, I know somebody, I'm sure they're listening to the show right now, whose father told them they'll never be anything. Yes. They're worthless. They were a mistake. They're born into the world hearing that they were an unintentional pregnancy,
right?
And that's the beginning of the end for that.
That's right. I was told they were disappointed because I was a girl. Isn't that lovely?
Wow.
Yeah.
And look at what you.
But that's what I want to say is that a test is also an opportunity. Don't use your test as excuses for failure and staying there. By the way, true story, student. She was in her 40s or late 40s. Really let herself go. I won't go into the details. Use your imagination. In her looks, in her health, in her lack of money, lack of drive, lack of career. And then, in the conversation, one of the coaching sessions, I said to her, what do you attribute this? What's the cause of that? She says, well, I didn't get over, my husband left me, cheated on me, left me for another woman. And I just stopped caring after that. I said, really? I said, how long ago was that? She goes, 20 years. 20 years, really? Okay, I could understand, there is a time for mourning and grief, but 20 years? No. Now it became an excuse. Now it became robotic. Now it became laziness. Spiritual laziness is really what it is. And we all have it. We're all ashamed of it. It's okay. I'm out of the closet. You can be out of the closet about it too. And we have the tools. That's the most important thing. Yom Kippur is one of those tools that we have that can break us of the old cycle. You don't have to live by yesterday's story. You can collapse that story and create a new one.
By the way, when you think about the movies that we love or the books that we're drawn to, that's the story. The story is the odds were against this person. They came from zero, nothingness, the opposite. They were in jail or they were, taken advantage of, and yet somehow they rise to greatness.
That's the idea.
That's why we're drawn to those stories, because our souls know that that's what we're capable of. Whatever our story is.
If we use them, instead of telling our story why we don't change, why we're bitter, why we're unhappy, and use it as the excuse. If we use it as a pivotal point, didn't have my coffee today, to make a new decision. That's all it takes, really. It's just a new decision. It begins there.
And this, one of the things you'll see, first of all, if you didn't hear last week's episode, I would go back and listen to it, because I feel like the month of Libra is a package deal.
Yes, it is. It is a package deal.
I mean, I'm sure, again, if you've been listening for any period of time, you realize that every week gives us the opportunity to do a unique work, it's almost like a do-it-yourself project.
We're loved and supported by the universe. That's the paradigm we could be all living in. We're loved and supported. Everything that's showing up is showing up as a gift for me to go to my next level, for me to be more, activate my potential. That's what it's really all about. Right.
And this week also contains in it, sometimes we bring up various characters from the history and the lineage of Kabbalah. This, I think it's Friday, right? Friday is the anniversary of the passing of our teacher, Rav Berg. So we
call it the Day of Elevation.
Right.
It's interesting. People call it the death anniversary. On another show, if you haven't talked about it, we should talk about death. It's a fascinating subject.
I feel like maybe we did. I don't know.
Yeah. Whatever. Anyway, it's a day of elevation. Right. So what does that mean? Again, it's always about the paradigm you want to live in. Death is never just an end. Death is the end of an old phase and the beginning of a new one. So our teacher has transitioned now to a dimension where we could feel our teacher, Rav Berg, everywhere with us all the time. As other, of the great sages throughout history, all the examples, we could feel them around us all the time because they're not limited anymore by time, space, and matter the way we are temporarily.
Right. And whenever there's a particularly powerful day like that, a day of elevation of a powerful soul, we bring it into the show because the show wouldn't be here,
right?
If not for these,
especially
specifically
not the Rav.
Karen. Obviously, we mention the Rav almost in every single show,
yes,
more than once even. And that, taking the opportunity from Thursday night to Friday night to connect with the Rav's teachings.
Right.
Again, even this
support.
show.
Ask for support.
Everything about what we do at the Kabbalah Center is because of the Rav's relentlessness pursuit of making a difference in the world.
And sacrifice. Oh, my God.
Now everybody, there's a book that you can read. Karen's book finally came out, and now I can't remember the title.
The Rav and Me?
No. It's the couple who would, we'll put the link in the comments, but it's something about the couple who would change the world kind of thing.
The most unlikely couple to change
something
the world.
like that. It's a very long title. Forgive me for not remembering exactly what it is. But in that book, you can hear the story. You can read the story of what it took to be able to get, I like to say, if the sages 1,000 years ago knew that Kabbalah would be available in a podcast, or that you would be able to watch us live teaching all over the world simultaneously, I'm not sure that there would be any. Let's put it this year. 50 years ago, the fax machine would have been considered voodoo, witchery, witchcraft. So here we are, years later, doing Jetsons like Kabbalah classes, basically. So it is a pretty big deal. We have just a couple minutes left. Any final thoughts? We gave our assignment. Everybody's going to work this week on sacrificing any feelings, memories, or attachments to unworthiness, guilt, and shame. What else would you say? A story, a lesson, parting words.
Parting words. We're so hard on ourselves. We really are. We're always looking at what's wrong with us. Not always, but most of the time. And I ask people, so what do you want in life? I say, let me tell you what I don't want, right? And so every time we think about what we don't want, we just keep manifesting more of that. The way we manifest what we do want is to start thinking more about what you do want and get help and support to manifest what you do want. One of the things, a simple thing to do is go on Kabbalah.com. There's so much information, wonderful things to read, inspiring stories. You can call 1-800-Kabbalah, get a teacher if you like online, or on the phone, work with someone one-on-one. There's just so many opportunities to get support, to have the life you want, because we're all in this together. We're all part of the cosmic, the collective consciousness. And so none of us can afford anymore to just go off and do our own thing.
No one's an island.
No one's an island, not anymore. Not ever, really. But now the illusion about being an island is obviously, we're all on the same island. We don't have that luxury anymore. We're on Gilligan's Island. We're all on the same. We need to be rescued. So
totally.
And no one's going to do it but us, by the way.
Right. And that's why I always say, imagine if everybody who hears today's show did this work, that would create a dramatic impact on the world at large. So if you've gotten something from today's show, you can share it, whether it's on Facebook. We're also on iTunes, Spotify, iHeartRadio, Google Play, CastBox, and Stitcher. You can find our videos on the Kabbalah Center International YouTube channel. You can find Batya's work on Kabbalah.com, both in class and blog form, article form.
It's called The Central Column.
The Central Column.
Yes.
Next week, we will be joined by not only Batya, but her famous celebrity husband, Chaim Solomon. Batya, what sign are you and your beloved daughter?
Leo.
There you go. So big round of applause to all of you who guessed it. Doesn't count if you knew it in advance. Have an amazing light-filled week, and we'll see you next week on the Weekly Energy Boost.
Thank you for having me.
Thanks for being here.